How Reverend Tom Simmons helps preachers deliver more effective sermons through coaching. One of the most rewarding and challenging aspects of ministry for many clergy is preaching. Through weekly interpretation of Scripture and sharing God's eternal truths, pastors are tasked with inspiring spiritual growth among their congregations. As a result of this enormous responsibility, many ministers do not receive regular support or ongoing professional development throughout their time in full-time ministry. Reverend Tom Simmons understands this challenge intimately. He has been the rector of St. Peter's Episcopal Church in Purcellville, VA, for over 20 years, helping people develop deeper faith through preaching, teaching, and spiritual leadership. His love for biblical instruction from the beginning has been a mainstay of his ministry, influencing both the work he does in the church and the work he does to assist clergy colleagues in developing their effectiveness and confidence. Over the years, Reverend Tom Simmons has become aware that many pastors encounter difficulties when preparing and delivering sermons. Even with their commitment and faithfulness to God and their congregations, many pastors feel alone in the sermon preparation and delivery process due to a lack of constructive means to improve their preaching. The unrelenting pace of weekly preaching makes it difficult to experiment with different ways of preparing and delivering sermons. This experience led him to develop an innovative method for sermon coaching during his research for his Doctor of Ministry dissertation, developing effective practices to help preachers improve and rediscover their creativity, their voice, and their passion for preaching. Through his services as the sermon coach, Reverend Tom Simmons continues to live out his commitment to excellence in preaching and helping fellow preachers thrive in their ministry. Identifying the challenges many preachers face. Preaching well takes more than good theology. Preaching well also requires creativity, clarity in communication, the ability to read the needs and feelings of the congregation, a deepening knowledge of Scripture, and, most importantly, the ability to connect the message of the ancient text with different kinds of people in the audience. It is difficult to maintain that quality consistently over time. After years of week after week preaching, it becomes tougher for a minister to prepare a good sermon. Part of that problem is that many ministers have so many different things going on that they have little time to devote to sermon preparation. They are often responsible for administering the church, providing pastoral care, engaging with the community, developing leaders, and managing the overall organization. As a result, many demands compete for the minister's time and focus during the week. Consequently, preparing sermons becomes overwhelming, repetitive, and often the wells of creativity and passion in preaching dry up. As Reverend Tom Simmons has observed the challenges of being a minister and leading in ministry through the years, he has also seen that experienced preachers sometimes feel as if they have hit a wall with little inspiration and very little idea on how to improve their preaching or get themselves out of a rut. The typical solutions for preachers have been to read books, go to conferences, and listen to respected speakers. These resources can provide great insight, however, they do not often create sustained change. In fact, most preachers leave a training experience motivated to make changes to how they prepare and deliver sermons, but, within a very short time frame, they typically go back to their usual habits. Because of this reality, Reverend Tom Simmons sought a much more personal and permanent way to develop as a preacher and to help others do the same. The research behind the sermon coach approach. After seeking several ways to help get himself out of a preaching rut, Reverend Tom Simmons enrolled in Doctor of Ministry, D.Min. program at Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary, under Haddon Robinson. He learned many things during this process: how to streamline the process of developing sermons, and to improve as a communicator. Reverend Simmons realized that many pastors are unable to pursue advanced degrees due to a lack of time, money, or location flexibility. However, they want to continue to grow as preachers. To help them, he focused his dissertation research on how the discipline of coaching can be effective in helping other preachers develop their skill, passion, and impact in preaching. This research showed that coaching, as a new model of adult learning, is very effective. Coaching is different from teaching. Rather than having one teacher prescribe a solution to learners, coaches work with learners on finding their own solutions by asking powerful questions that guide the learner to reflect on their ideals, goals, principles, practices, and abilities, and to develop their own solutions and evaluate their own results. This led to the basis of Reverend Tom Simmons, the Sermon Coach, TSC, methodology, which is a system for helping preachers rediscover their creative passion, streamline their process of developing sermons and develop more effective communication in delivering sermons. Why coaching creates lasting growth. Pastors are often used to receiving constructive criticism, such as identifying areas of weakness and giving suggestions for improvement on their sermon delivery. Constructive criticism can be a useful tool, but is the person offering advice in the role of expert and diminishes the preacher to the student, creating a dynamic between the two that is not conducive to effective learning. Reverend Tom Simmons has developed a coaching process different from the traditional approaches described above. Reverend Simmons' coaching philosophy assumes the preacher is the expert on their own abilities, priorities, and ministry context. Instead of offering advice, the sermon coach asks questions that help a preacher develop their own answers. In a structured conversation with the coach, clergy are encouraged to reflect on their goals, priorities, preparation, communication style, and overall effectiveness as a preacher. The end result of the coaching process is that preachers gain greater knowledge of themselves as preachers and develop practical, proven ideas that are unique to their personal context. Coaching is a collaborative process, and by focusing on discovery of new ideas rather than being directed towards pre-packaged solutions or toward one specific answer, the preacher has a greater sense of ownership and accountability in their own development. Executive coaches in the field of leadership development have observed that individuals often experience authentic and lasting growth when they reach their own conclusion about an area of their lives. The coach's role is to provide the individual with a supportive, nurturing, reflective environment in which they are able to learn and adapt as they experience change. Coaches help to create this environment for preachers seeking to enhance their ministry through the sermon coaching process. The future of preaching in ministry development. The landscape of ministry is always changing. With new cultural dynamics and different expectations by congregational members always emerging, it's now more important than ever for churches and their clergy to keep learning and adapting to be prepared for whatever comes next. Reverend Tom Simmons believes that one of the greatest ways for faith leaders to inspire, teach, and direct those in their care is through excellent preaching. He states excellence in preaching is not a destination, rather, it is an ongoing journey of refining and developing one's gift. As a way of encouraging fellow clergy members to grow, Reverend Tom Simmons continues to provide opportunities for them as a pastor, teacher, and coaching their preaching through a model that provides clergy with an accessible means of improving their ministry without losing their authentic voice or personality. The focus on reflective learning through asking thoughtful questions while supporting clergy with their individual growth has connected with numerous clergy on a search for innovative means to strengthen their preaching. While churches navigate the opportunities and challenges that lie ahead, the need for effective communicators will only increase. With the support of the sermon coach, the Reverend Tom Simmons, faith leaders are being better equipped to meet those challenges and opportunities with greater clarity and confidence, passion and purpose. This is Reverend Tom Simmons' long-term commitment to continued education, personal service, and helping others develop their ability to effectively proclaim Jesus and make a positive impact in people's lives. He wants clergy to know that lasting improvements are always achievable through faithful effort and partnership with others.